Tonight, the Watertown High School's Wind Symphony will perform their spring concert, but they'll have to omit a piece of music that they have been practicing for months, thanks to a special vote by their school board last week. Welcome back to Yesterqueers. My name's Amanda, and I'm a public historian of queer history. The piece of music in question is Omar Thomas's 2019 composition, A Mother of a Revolution. Originally commissioned by the Desert Winds Freedom Band to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, it is a 4-minute, 15-second instrumental piece that the composer describes as a celebration of the bravery of trans women, and in particular, Marsha Pay It No Mind Johnson. Since September of 2025, Watertown Unified School District has had what they call a controversial issues policy, which requires that teachers provide effective notice to parents in advance of controversial issues being instructed in the classroom. Now, this piece shouldn't be controversial. It is performed regularly at festivals, including the Wisconsin School Music Association Festival. But band director Reed Ledoux followed the policy and sent a memo home in October, notifying parents that students would be performing the piece and writing in part. The purpose behind studying Mother of a Revolution is not to provoke controversy, but to deepen students' understanding of how music reflects the diverse experiences of humanity. Engaging with this piece helps foster empathy, cultural awareness, and respect for the stories and struggles that shape our shared history. The memo also provided an opportunity for families to opt students out of performing the piece, which 3 of them did. This piece of music was apparently so controversial that it flew entirely under the school board's radar for 7 months, until a parent brought it to their attention recently, and suddenly it required an emergency vote. The vice president of the school board, whose name is Sam Owennell, I think it's pronounced, acknowledged that Ledoux followed the policy and that parents were appropriately notified. But he also said, having a controversial issues policy does not preclude certain material from being inappropriate for a public school. My concern with this piece in particular is that it's described specifically as a celebration of Marsha Johnson, who was a cross-dressing prostitute who threw a brick at a police officer. Committee member Christina DeGrave, meanwhile, said that music should be uplifting and celebratory, which this piece is, and that political violence shouldn't be celebrated through music or song. If that's the case, then I assume that the Watertown School Board will be forbidding every school in its jurisdiction from performing the national anthem, which is about Fort McHenry withstanding British bombardment during the War of 1812. That's the whole bombs bursting in air part. The Star-Spangled Banner, which we perform at every possible opportunity here in the United States, quite literally celebrates political violence. It also uses a tune from a song that celebrates a very queer poet, but that's a different video. Anyway, in spite of dozens of community members, including students, standing up at that meeting to speak in favor of keeping A Mother of a Revolution in the spring concert, the school board voted 7-1 that the band should not be allowed to perform a piece of music that they have been working on all year. School board president Lori Hoffman is the only person who voted no. This is what Owennell had to say after the vote.
This is a perfect example of what everyone sitting at this table ran on, which was ending indoctrination in the classrooms and ending radical curriculum.
The cruelty is the point, y'all. In response, several hundred Watertown high school and middle school students walked out of class last week to protest the school board's decision. And this morning, 775 alumni, staff, or former staff, parents, and community members sent a letter to the school board urging them to allow the band to perform the piece. So far, the Watertown School Board has doubled down on its decision, saying in a statement released yesterday, it is not the place of a public school to endorse or celebrate acts of violence, and that they thought the piece was intended to persuade students toward emotional alignment with the events of the Stonewall riot. This is just one small example of the nationwide push to erase queer history and queer people from our national story. Hat tip to Corrinne Hess at Wisconsin Public Radio, whose original reporting brought national attention to this story. The accusations of indoctrination didn't shock me. Queer people have been fighting against the lie that we're a cult leading young people to their demise for more than a century. But what did give me pause is the fact that the school board didn't want students to become emotionally aligned with the events of Stonewall. They're talking about empathy. The Watertown School Board did not want students to empathize with queer people, because empathy is what changes hearts and minds. It is very, very difficult to maintain blind hatred for a group once you understand that the members of that group are human beings with whom you might have a few things in common. We have always known that bigots don't see the members of the groups that they discriminate against as human beings. But to see the members of the Watertown School Board say with their whole chests that they don't want young people in their district to empathize with queer people, or by extension with members of any other controversial group, is chilling. I'll have more to say about empathy and dehumanization in the coming weeks, but for now, let me just say that I am sending waves of love over the footlights to the Watertown Wind Symphony. I'm sure y'all will put on a fantastic concert tonight, with or without Mother of a Revolution. That's it for today.